Hey YouTube, I hope the viewing of this video it finds you well. I just wanted to kind of throw this quick video together on some of the steps that I take when bidding on Copart and just kind of trying to manage the cost overall. I bought several vehicles off of Copart, and I'm going to first say right off the bat I'm a big fan of Copart. I love the fact that we can get out there, we can bid on some of these newer vehicles that we normally probably wouldn't be able to. And it just gives us an opportunity to really kind of get in there and get in the mix. But what you see on the right is basically a sheet that will dynamically calculate fees on Copart based on what they currently are at the time that I copy them down and I put them in the sheet, and it does the automatic calculations. One of the reasons that I do this is to kind of avoid the gotcha factor when you pick up the vehicle for the first time. I've bought several vehicles off this, and I'm what you'd consider a purposeful buyer. I generally buy it for either family or maybe somebody needs it. I'm not a flipper by any nature. I'm not guys like Sam Rack and them that they can, they buy some really great vehicles that definitely are out of my price range. So maintaining costs and getting an idea of what something is going to cost me before I bid on it is key for me. The Excel spreadsheet, what I can do is it will give me an idea of, let's just say I'm looking at a vehicle and say that there's a price out there for $350, that the bidding starts at that. Right now I'm looking at about $568 just to drive it off a lot. What it'll do is it'll calculate fees and all the different fees that it's got based on the bid amount, and it'll give me a percentage of what the fee is of the total cost. And then, like I said, it'll also give me the total price to drive it off that. Now, that's kind of the first part of the puzzle for me. The second part is going to be kind of what the estimates are, just to try and get a final price on something. Let's say I don't have the opportunity to go out and see the vehicle like Copart affords us, then this gives me an idea of what I'm really kind of looking at in terms of a total price. What you'll see there is I've got sales tax, cost of retitle, cost of transport or pickup if possible. What you immediately start seeing is for a cost, let's just say it's something that you're going to retitle, you can get pretty expensive pretty quick. It can be anywhere up about, so let's say $80. Then if you say I have to transport it, generally I try not to get vehicles that I have to transport simply because the cost really gets too high. So let's just say my cost really kind of sits at about, say, maybe $80 for to have it towed. If I'm looking at a vehicle that's really been hit kind of bad or it's got a lot of damage, let's just say I've got about 500 worth of parts. So right now, for a vehicle that started out at about $350, just at a very rough estimate, you're looking at about a $1,200 car. As you can see, when you're thinking about, and you've seen it several times on YouTube where somebody will say, well, I bought the car for $350. Well, that's really just part of the story. What you're going to see is that it very easily can add up to, a $1,200 car, if not even more. I use this quite a bit also for a second thing, and it's kind of what they call the phenomenon of frenzy bidding. And you've seen it. You've seen it where you're out there and all of a sudden the bidding just kind of goes crazy. And so let's just say that I started out, the auction started, and I'm sitting at about $350, and all of a sudden it's gone to $700. Now I'm looking at about a $1,700 tab for a vehicle, or at least $1,000 just to get it out the door. A lot of times, just because the price range that I'm in, this really helps me control my costs dynamically when the bidding gets going. A lot of times before I even jump into the bidding of the vehicle, I've already kind of done the pre-analysis on this to give me an idea of what I'm really, really, really talking about. Let's just say somebody comes to me and they say, well, I've got $800 to spend. You could see that you really are talking about not even a $350 vehicle. You're really going to maybe talk about maybe $400 that they can actually spend, maybe a little bit more. But what this does is it gives me that look of what I can expect, cost-wise for the actual vehicle when I decide to go pick it up or decide to purchase or I decide to bid on it. Generally where I live is I live in the buy it now or the pure sale world. That's generally where I live, and I live the no license required. And so at times these vehicles can just take off, and I mean they can take off quickly. And so by the time that I've gotten into the bidding, I know more or less where I'm sitting price-wise. So let's just say that I did have, say, $1,000 that I wanted to spend on a vehicle, which for me would be a lot. I'm looking at $1,400 just to drive it off the lot. Now, no pun intended, majority of these probably have to be, carted off, trailed off, or whatever. So if I was to even think about having a vehicle transported, you're talking, let's say, about $400 just to have it transported. I'm way deep in the pocket. Even if I didn't consider any parts, let's just say it was a perfect vehicle, I'm still sitting at about $2,023 for a $1,000 vehicle. That means I put $1,023 on what I would consider non-repairable items yet on the vehicle. You'll see it quite often is that people will get into the Copart bidding, and then all of a sudden they didn't realize what the real cost is going to, be for them. So, this is just something that I use continually when I'm looking at a vehicle, trying to understand, whether I want to get involved in the purchase or not. I've commented quite a bit to people who've kind of like said, well, I bought this vehicle and it's just really been a bad deal. This is what helps me. This is on the day in and day out when I'm looking at Copart, when I'm watching the auctions, when I'm trying to decide if I really want to get a vehicle that, maybe somebody needs or I need. This is my go-to Excel spreadsheet that helps me dynamically give me those calculations. It really has helped me prevent many a times to try to keep from getting involved in that and just stepping away from the frenzy bidding. So like I said before, big fan of Copart. I think it's really cool that we can all get out there. We can buy a vehicle that we can wrench on, put back together, and get on the road. But like I said before, I'm a purposeful buyer. I'm buying it with the intent that maybe a family member needs it, somebody else might need it. And so I'm not really kind of, how you say it, in the world of selling salvage. It's not where I live. It's not where I'm trying to make a profit. This just helps me understand my costs. So, I hope this has helped you. I'm very appreciative of all the people who have put out some great videos out there on YouTube about buying from Copart. This is just what I use when I start getting involved in the process. So I hope you're successful and you win your next bid. And who knows, maybe I'll put another video out there. Thank you.